Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Dreamwalker Tarot. My name is Dawn, and this is the November reading for Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Mars. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for post notifications. So for the first spread, I am using the Magic and Mediums Oracle deck created by Aniela Reed and illustrated by Ash Color, right? So that's that. So the first card that came out is the Mysticism card. And Mysticism speaks to the desire for really everyone to kind of have like an understanding of, where we come from and our comprehension and understanding of the unknown, right? The things that are hidden and how they work in the spirit realm and also manifest themselves in and on our earthly plane, right? And in the reverse, this is really kind of showing a sense of disenchantment, really, with the idea of mysticism. This could be whatever your religious faith or whatever your religious background is. It feels like you're having a little bit of a hard time with your religion in terms of the things that you feel like it promises you or is or what it gives you, or just your overall understanding of it, right? And so right now, this card really kind of feels like a doubt, a feeling of doubt about understanding and trusting and having faith in like the spiritual aspects or the spiritual person that you might have or spiritual practices that you might have been involved in during your life. And so really this card in the reverse is saying that you are a spirit having a human experience and you're kind of going through some things, right? The guide card refers to the fact that all of us have an energy that advises or shows us or shows the way to us, right? And that kind of goes hand in hand with the idea of mysticism. There's a lot of people that believe that before birth, there's a guide that is assigned to you as a lifelong guide, right? And that person is the person that, really speaks to you and kind of guides you. Some people feel like it's a part of like your intuition. It's your guide that's speaking to you. And it feels like with the card in reverse is that you're kind of having difficulty with your guides. The card in reverse actually kind of speaks to dealing with some blockages and dealing with some karmic issues from your past, whether it be a past life, past patterns, past behaviors, and they're kind of like revealing themselves to you at this time as something that needs to be addressed. Maybe, well, I'll get into that a little bit more, but the next card is the learn card, and that is also in reverse. And so the learn card is like a thing that asks us to learn from our past, from our ancestors, in order to basically inform our present and our future. And so there's a lot of wisdom that comes from understanding ancestral patterns, ancestral hurts, and just the way that people in the past in your family might have moved and how that's informing the way that you move now. And really just working on, it kind of calls for like inner child work, working with like past lives, doing like past life regressions or things like that to basically learn and communicate with your ancestors and having them speak to you to kind of help you heal wounds that you have that might have developed when you were a child but have never been healed. When we put all these three elements together, what we have is a couple of things, right? I feel like a lot of you are kind of turning your back on your guides. And I think there is a misconception and a misunderstanding of what these guides serve, the purpose that they serve in your life, right? Like our guides and our faith, and for some of us who practice, certain magical arts, these guides that we have are not here to be like, a genie in a bottle where you rub them and you get whatever you want. And I feel like sometimes there's a misunderstanding about their purpose in your life. A lot of the things that they work with, especially if you work with people that are in your bloodline, your ancestors, a lot of times are people that present themselves as your guides. They really are trying to help you navigate this world and try to understand this world in a way that they did not, by giving you wisdom and knowledge that you need to kind of avoid some of the patterns and issues that they survived when they were on earth, right? So their spirit form is trying to help your human form navigate this world and your experiences. But you need to understand the function that they have in your life and not really expect them to kind of do things that are kind of like, they're not going to drop $1 million on your desk, right? They're not just, there's not certain things that they're not going to be able to do for you. And I feel like there's a sense of being discouraged because it's like, you do believe, but it's like, things really just aren't kind of like going your way. So really and truly, this is an opportunity for you to kind of get closer to your guides and understand what it is that they're trying to show you, what it is that they're trying to teach you, so that you can learn these things and move with them in a more harmonious way. And also, being able to understand like your intuition and how your intuition works and how it guides you. And also there is a sense of kind of releasing your pride and surrendering to spirit. Okay, so let's move on and see what the tarot deck says. Okay, so we are using the tarot, black tarot, for this portion of the reading. And the first card that came out, which is the present situation, is the Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups basically talks about fond memories from your childhood. Like, so you might be in a space where you're really thinking about your childhood, like the pleasant parts of your childhood, friends, like your old school, just having pleasant thoughts about the nicest parts of your childhood, right? This could also mean that you are back in your childhood home, or you're moving back to your childhood town, or you're visiting your childhood town. And with Thanksgiving coming up, that might not be highly unlikely, right? There's also a sense of reconnecting with your inner child. And we'll kind of see how this plays out in the reading, but right now this is what the cards are saying is happening in your current situation. This could also be for those who have a child. This could be about your child, but could also be about yourself. And what is crossing the Six of Cups is the Fool in reverse. And again, the Fool in reverse, with this particular imagery, could be your child itself, but it could be, like I said, a version of your inner child. And so the Fool in reverse talks about innocence, especially in conjunction with the Six of Cups, right? It's like really talking about like your innocence, or you might be rethinking about a time when you were innocent, when you didn't have any responsibilities, when everything was like free. And it feels almost like you're really in a state where you feel stuck in that thought process, where you really miss the elements of being a child and not having to deal with responsibilities, and just kind of like being free to just live your life. And with the Fool in reverse, it's kind of like you're stuck in that mode, and it's like you don't want to move out from that and kind of like venture off into adulthood or anything like that. What is at the subconscious of this particular situation is represented by the Page of Pentacles. And the Page of Pentacles is really talking about like the start. It kind of goes along really with the Fool card, in the sense of it's really starting out and navigating in life. There is a sense of like a childish type of energy to this, and again being represented, there's a lot of imagery about childhood and children. This could be specifically for some of you who have young daughters. and or if you are a female yourself and you're listening to this reading, it's like that young girl in you, really just rethinking about what you saw for yourself and what you saw for your life, and really just kind of stepping out into the world and making that a reality, right? It's really about exploring the world, and having fun doing it, but also trying to explore nature, physical activity, just pursuing life and trying to live a healthy life, trying to live an abundant life, and kind of growing emotionally, physically, and financially. It's really about taking the initiative to kind of get to where you need to get and to get access to something that will allow you to live a life of abundance, and really just kind of stepping out into the world. And so for some of you, like I said, this could be you, this could be where you're at right now. You could be starting over from scratch. Like I said, some of you could be moving back home and starting over because something didn't work out. And so you're like really in a space where you're kind of trying to reclaim a lot of the dreams that you had for yourself as a child. Or it could be that you have a child who you are thinking about their future, or they are thinking about their own future at this point, right? And specifically a daughter, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a daughter, but there is like a sense of like a feminine, female energy with this particular card. In the past of this situation, the card that comes out that's representative of that is the Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands is like a really dynamic person, physically, attractive, just a very engaging, warm personality who's confident, and just is aware of who they are, and, just a very active person that has a lot going on, maybe a lot of interest, a lot of hobbies, and basically just kind of gives off just a vibe of real self-confidence. In the traditional Rider-Waite deck, the Queen of Wands is sitting on a throne, and there is a black cat that is associated with the Queen of Wands that kind of speaks to a little bit of the occult. So someone who is really in touch with the occult, in touch with her dark side, and is a little bit, like they say, a little bit on the witchy side. And that kind of ties in with the mysticism card and the guide card that came out in the beginning, because the fact is that this card is playing out in the past, and all of the current cards are showing a more, more of a childlike energy. It really does feel like this is the energy that you used to have, and so you used to be more confident and used to really believe in yourself, and you really believed in your spirits and your guides, and in your own personal type of magic, right? And it feels like at some point something has happened or affected you, so now you're really not that sure, right? And you're returning back to a childlike state. In conjunction with what I said earlier, you might really just be kind of going back in your mind thinking about how confident you used to be as a kid, right? Just knowing what you wanted to do, knowing what job you wanted to have, and really having this huge vision for what your life was going to play out to be like, and was going to turn out to be like. And I kind of feel like you're kind of fumbling a little bit with that at this current point. The card that signifies what your ultimate goal is, and what you ultimately wanted for the situation is represented by the Strength card. And the Strength card really talks about domination and power, and just being strong, and really just being able to manifest things with a gentle kind of power, but really about being able to control and being dominant in the situation. And I really feel like that is kind of like what you have always envisioned or embodied, or what it is that you try to represent yourself as in this world. Right. So, and that is really kind of like speaking to the heart of what you always wanted for yourself. And again, there's a lot of feminine energy attached to this, right? The snake is also an occult figure as well. And for a very long time, it really talks about it really represented being a symbol of evil, and also, not being trustful of a snake. And in the book itself, I'll read you what it says. It says the snake can be seen as menacing and dangerous. Though the figure knows the truth about the snake, it is not dangerous in its nature, merely misunderstood and loathed by those who lack the knowledge, projecting their fears onto its menacing appearance. It is scarred, and paper and small arrows pepper its skin. So she puts herself between the onslaught and the victim. And so for some of you, you can be, really like in a mode where you feel a little bit misunderstood, and really not understood for your drive or where it is that you want, where you see yourself and the vision that you have for your life. It is something that you personally understand, but you kind of get the sense that the people around you might not necessarily know and understand where your drive comes from for wanting to be in a position of power, or wanting to feel like you are in control of a situation, control of your childhood, control of the things that came out of your life, or just in control general. And so with the Queen of Wands, being in the past, and then all of like this childlike energy, you might be kind of in a space where it's like, your ultimate goal was to be in a position of power and to kind of like be dominant in your life. And I kind of feel like you are kind of struggling a little bit with your self-confidence, because you might not be on the path that you saw yourself on, or you feel like you aren't necessarily where you envisioned yourself to be, and it's kind of like messing with you. In the near future, the card that comes out is the Seven of Cups in reverse. And instantly, the first thing that came into my mind was smoke and mirrors. And so in the near future, so right now, it really does seem like you're at a new stage in your life. You're restarting over, right? But you want to be careful about the things that are presented to you, because at this time, I feel like there's going to be a lot of things presented to you, a lot of choices that you can make in terms of the way that you want to move forward with this new start in your life. But some of the things that will be presented to you might not be exactly what they seem, right? Like a person can present something in a way that makes it sound really appealing, and then if you commit to it or you do it, it's like you realize that there's like a lot of things in a fine print that they didn't tell you about, or you just find out that the things that were promised, or the things that you thought were going to be one way, actually aren't the way that you thought they were going to be at all, right? I pulled some clarifiers for the Seven of Cups, but before I actually show you what the clarifiers are, I think it's kind of important to note that in the back of the Seven of Cups, there is a home, right? And this actually really speaks to going back to the card with the Six of Cups and dealing with your home, right? There's like an emotional element attached to your home, and there also an element of like before I said, you might have moved home and now you're home, but it's not as how you remembered it being as a child, or the conditions under which you had to move back home are less than satisfactory to you, because there might be something attached to you being told something or believing that something was going to be one way and it's not. And it turned out to be a bunch of smoke and mirrors. So you kind of want to be careful about the choices that you make, because the choices that you make are definitely going to be rippling outwards in your life at this point. And you want to make sure that you're kind of like still, before you make any major decisions, and to really sit and ponder them, especially if you have any children involved in the equation that might be they're also going to be involved with whatever decision that you make, and it's going to also affect them as well. And so I feel like I wanted to say that before I moved on to the clarifying cards. Okay, so I am using the Hoodoo Tarot deck in order to do the clarification for the Six of Cups in reverse, the Seven of Cups in reverse. And the cards that came out is Miss Robinson in reverse, and also the Seven of Sticks. Now, there's like this whole story in this book about Miss Robinson, and I'm going to read it to you because I do feel like it, it has some weight, over this reading, so I'm going to read it to you. Also, Miss Robinson is referred to as the devil card. It's also her version of the devil card in this deck, right? So, the image Miss Robinson. Miss Robinson is proudly displaying the funeral program of Reginald Patrick. Miss Robinson was a hoodoo from Orangeburg, South Carolina. According to the people in her small town, she was a sweet, law-abiding woman unless someone crossed her. One day at the church, Miss Robinson saw a few parishioners gathered around a woman named Miss Patrick. As Miss Robinson walked by, Miss Patrick said loudly that she didn't believe root workers should be welcome in the church and that it was a bunch of made-up nonsense. Miss Robinson tried her best to ignore her until she noticed people started treating her differently. They were making up excuses for why she couldn't visit, and her clients started canceling appointments. It turned out that Miss Patrick was trying her best to destroy Miss Robinson's entire life, even though she hardly knew her. Miss Robinson finally approached Miss Patrick after church and told her to never speak ill about her again or she would be sorry. Miss Patrick laughed and elbowed her cronies and said that would never happen, so she might as well go ahead and root her then. Miss Robinson told her that she was made for root working and that if she couldn't have what she loved the most, then neither would she. Miss Patrick howled with laughter and walked away with the other ladies, leaving Miss Robinson standing there furious. 29 days later, Miss Patrick's 9-year-old son, Reginald, died unexpectedly after having a cold. Everyone knew that Reginald was Miss Patrick's pride and joy. Not only was he her only child, she also couldn't have any more, so she was absolutely devastated by the loss. As the mourners filed out of the funeral home, Miss Robinson was seen smiling as she fanned herself with a memorial program from across the road. Miss Patrick, now totally broken, moved out of town the following day. When Miss Robinson appears in a reading, you may be involved in a negative situation that has the potential to become even more unpleasant, unhealthy, or dangerous. Stop it before things go too far. This card may also be trying to alert you to the fact that you have an addiction or obsession involving a person, idea, intoxicant, or object, which will ultimately hurt you more than you could ever imagine. Get help if you need it. If you are engaged in a lifestyle that attracts negative, unbalanced, or violent people, now is the time to be on high alert. This card may also be a reminder to stop bullying or being abusive to others. Stop being so manipulative. Beware of liars, backbiters, syndicators, and frenemies in your midst. This is also a warning against excessive focus on worldly things, bad news, pains, suffering, and ugliness. If you receive Miss Robinson in a reading, consider the following. Are you feeling trapped? By whom or by what? And not everyone who says they have good intentions mean it. Evil is a point of view. What did I really invite into my life when I did or said that? Don't let your mouth write a check that your ass can't catch. It could also mean that an apology may be necessary. Am I ready, willing, and able to do jail time if I get caught? He or she may be cheating on you. Things may not be as good as they seem to be. Am I purposely choosing to remain ignorant because I don't want to face the truth? Perhaps no one likes to talk to me because I'm often negative, depressing, expressing doubt. Why don't I believe in myself? And why do I expect the worst possible outcomes? In addition, the Seven of Sticks, which is also equivalent to the Seven of Wands, really talks about standing your ground and strength in adversity, defending the things that you believe. But really, it speaks about disagreements, right? Arguments, and having to create boundaries because of an argument that might be going back and forth with you and someone. And in conjunction with this card, the Miss Robinson card, which is a devil card, there are two people involved in the story, right? And there's also a child involved in the story. And so you know what role you play in the story. And if you're a Miss Robinson or if you're Miss Patrick, and in relationship to that, if you should be standing your ground or not, based on whatever is going on in your life. And like I said, one of the questions that they asked was, in fact, talking about things not appearing as they seem. And, I think that that is something that you need to be mindful of right now, right? Your current approach, oh God, is being represented by the devil, which I think is freaking crazy because we literally just had the Miss Robinson card, which is also the devil card. And so, Aries, I'm going to be inclined to think that you are definitely one of the people represented in this story about Miss Robinson and Miss Patrick. And like I said, really sit and think with yourself about the things that you're practicing or the things that you're doing, especially if you are practicing in any occult activity against someone else or I mean, a lot of people don't believe in the occult. I personally believe in the occult, but really, like I said before, there was a thing about in the first spread talking about mysticism, talking about your guides, and talking about learning. And so sometimes when we use magic to get the things that we want to and not really think about the outcome or the consequences of the magic that we perform, we have to deal with the karma of that. We have to deal with our guides. We have to deal with the karma that is issued not just upon us but also upon our family members that might be sharing our energetic space and have to deal with the ramifications of the things that we do personally. There is a lot of mysticism presented in the cards itself in terms of the Queen of Wands and also with the Strength card, which I did actually feel like I did mention that earlier. But yeah, so just be kind of careful about the things and the methods that you employ to kind of get what you want. I mean, I do feel like there is a lesson to be learned here about our faith and our religion and what our guides are actually doing and what they represent in our lives. It really is about growing and healing. And I do feel like there does need to be some form of healing in the situation. But like I said, you know who you are in the story. And so, just kind of like sit with that and think about the questions that were presented earlier. In your current situation or your current environment is being represented by the Three of Pentacles in the reverse. And the Three of Pentacles in the upright talks about working harmoniously with someone, maybe like an internship, but really just working with the people that are around you to gain knowledge, to gain wisdom. And in the reverse, it really speaks about being out of alignment. And so that kind of feeds into the element of the Devil card that just came out in the story about Miss Robinson and Miss Patrick. And like, I personally feel like nothing happens, without a reason. And so even those cards, the way they played out really does kind of speak personally to you and in what way that does. But I feel like in your environment, you kind of are having a sense that you're doing everything by yourself. You're working alone. You're not really working well with others. With this, the Seven of Sticks, you might feel like you're getting into arguments with people. Misunderstandings might be happening a lot. You might feel misunderstood, and that came out earlier, and that is what's going on in your current environment. The card in the position of what you need to know, ... what you might not already know, and what's happening somewhere in the background or the foreground that you need to know, is represented by the Hangman and also the Nine of Wands in the reverse. And so really both those cards are saying that you need to pause, right? You need to stop. You need to take a beat. The Hangman is really saying that you kind of need to listen and kind of chill out for a little bit before you proceed forward. And the Nine of Wands is basically talking about a person that's kind of like on guard, and really like in a defensive mode, right? This particular card is it's really calling for you to kind of take caution, right? In the actual deck, I'm going to read a portion of it to you. It says, at the feet of this wolf, it's spent with arrows, a history of abuse and mistreatment that has conditioned it to react with aggression and distrust. The Nine of Wands is saying that a history of problems can be a great lesson to inform a better future, but it can also lead to unproductive distrust or the inability to cooperate. This card is the perseverance of the wolf. It may have taken its fair share of blows, but it's still standing and very capable of putting up a fight. There's still hope for recovery. Now, no one is doubting your ability, Aries. No one is doubting that you can't take the fight. No one is doubting any of those things. But I think you really need to sit with the idea and the notion that a lot of the ways that you are showing up in this world, or the ways that you're reacting to certain things, has less to do with what is happening, but also, like I said, an issue with the way that you might feel misunderstood, and also a history of being misunderstood or mistreated, especially if this is something that happened in your childhood, and it's kind of like manifesting itself right now as an adult. You're kind of regressing back to the feelings that you had as a child about being mistreated, or or some sort of abuse that you might have endured, and that is coloring your vision about things, especially with the Seven of Cups in reverse, and also coloring the decisions that you do make. And so before you proceed forward, because you are in that state of, like, the Fool, where you're trying to navigate yourself into a new path, with the Seven of Cups in reverse, and this history of abuse or mistreatment or being misunderstood, you really kind of want to sit with the decisions that you are going to make before you make them, and kind of really just wait for spirit to guide you. Look, the guide card, to guide you and to inform the way that you navigate in this world, because you might be making decisions from a hurt place, and that is never good for anyone, and is definitely not good for yourself, because the ramifications of that might actually mess you up more than it needs to be, right? This is really about recovering. This is really about dealing with your inner childhood demons. This is really about dealing with the things that happened to you in your childhood that put you in a state of feeling like you're constantly being attacked, you're constantly being misunderstood, and then, kind of like forcing you to make decisions that you don't necessarily want to make, because you're doing it from a place of hurt and a place of damage. And I really feel like that's the overall extent of this, is that you really need to kind of like sit with yourself to really figure out what those childhood wounds are and how they're presenting themselves in your life, not just for you, but if you have any children, or if you're planning on having children, for them as well. And if you do all of those things, the final outcome is being represented here by the Ten of Cups. The Ten of Cups is really talking about abundance. It's talking about stability. It's about doing the work that is going to prepare the foundation for you to have stability in the long term in your life, and that is financial, but also it's really emotional and spiritual as well. And so if you really sit with yourself and do this work that needs to be done, I really do feel like you would benefit from the outcomes in the overall in your life, right? And that is really the path that we are all trying to be on. This video is getting long as hell. But the advice cards, I feel like I had to pull them, and the three of them that came out are abundance, anger, and sacred space. Abundance takes on many forms: material possessions, friendships, excellent health, emotional stability, unique experiences. When you lock yourself into a narrow view of what defines abundance, you lose out on the whole picture of what it could mean. Open yourself up to as many forms of wealth and abundance that are possible, and watch your blessings multiply. Always remember that focusing on what you do not have is a surefire way to feed the energy and make that your truth. Every day, watch for signs of abundance from the universe. Acknowledge and be thankful, thus encouraging the continued flow of energy. Remember, the universe will always provide for you what you need. Anger, a very strong and primal emotion. Anger sometimes catches us by surprise. At other times, it seethes just under the surface, simmering a long while until it boils over, scalding anyone who is close. Anger is based in fear, fear of loss, of control, fear of not being loved, fear of being judged, fear of not being enough, and I'm going to say fear of being misunderstood. When anger enters your life, be it yours or someone else's, go beneath the surface and try to address the real fear that has triggered it. Anger doesn't go away without addressing the underlying fear. Alternately, be aware of someone's anger towards you. The final card is the sacred space. Find a spot in your home or office that you can access easily. Create a sacred spot just for you. This will be a place for you alone. If space is at a premium, then a shelf or a corner will do. Put here only those items that hold significant meaning to you and touch you on a deep personal level. Examples are photos of loved ones, rocks, feathers, shells. Place a candle, even if it cannot be lit. This signifies the element of fire, which is your element, Aries, and represents the flame of the Creator's love for you, the fire of creation or purification. Perhaps fire means something entirely different to you. Use the space to go in daily, even if it's just for a few moments, to ground and calm yourself. Working this into your daily routine will bring you to a place of greater understanding. And I really think that this is kind of like the space that you're in right now. Is really, you need the space and time to reflect on your life, what vision you saw for your life, the direction that you're going in, the decisions that you're making, and really just kind of like taking time to understand what you're fearful of, what you're hurt by, and what is causing you to act in the way that you're acting, or even just the interactions that you have with other people, right? And so really take the Hangman card into mind with this. This calls for meditation, doing some childhood regression and working with your inner child to kind of tap back into your joy, and to release whatever anger you might be holding, but also just to really look at what your childhood taught you about showing up in this world, specifically your spiritual beliefs and what place they have in your life. And I really think that is what it's going to be coming to play for you this month. And I hope that this message really helped you in some way. Please leave a comment and let me know how it's manifesting in your life. Like the video, share the video with a friend that you feel might benefit from the information that is here. Subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for post notifications. I am so thankful to you for listening. This is a long video and I'm sorry about that. But we just keep going until spirit says stop, right? So Aries, take care, and I'll see you soon.